In every city, in every town, and in every small hamlet in Florida, there are children who are either mentally or physically handicapped. There are varying degrees of impairment. Whatever the impediment, these children need more exacting instruction than others. For this, special schools must be provided and are in the state of Florida. Uninformed institutions, such is definitely not their status. And Florida is fortunate in having facilities for the edification academically and vocationally of handicapped children. A new baby, in most instances a cause for rejoicing, and especially so for the couple experiencing their first blessed event. These elated parents have reason to be thrilled at viewing this child. After several years of childless marriage, they are enjoying young Johnny's presence and are making great plans for his future. Quite soon, however, this proud couple will discover that he is an exceptional child. That is, he faces a handicap, either mentally or physically, which will require his needing a specialized type of education. He may use these gifts which his father had hopefully bought, but never to the degree of skill of others. In this hypothetical approach to the mental impairment condition, we observe that Johnny is a happy and well-behaved individual, but his parents become increasingly concerned over the fact that he doesn't seem to develop as rapidly as the other children. He is much slower to respond. Driven by their fears, the young parents decide to seek professional help, although they suspect these two young people experience a profound shock when their doctor confirms their suspicions. Young Johnny is mentally retarded. The walls of their dream castle come tumbling down. What can they do? As in most of these cases, the parents feel they are suddenly alone in the world, yet they are not alone. Mental retardation is estimated to affect at least 5 million families in the United States. Until recent years, mental retardates were shunned and considered to be useless burdens and undesirable playmates. Now, a gradual enlightening finds increasing efforts to give them hope and a chance for useful roles in society. However, no future can exist for the child until his parents accept the fact that he possesses this impediment, and by acceptance, pursue the path of loving the child and doing everything possible to help him. In Florida, there are state-supported, county, and private or parent-sponsored schools for handicapped children. Exemplary of the private school for mental retardates is Jacksonville's Pine Castle School, a day school. Pine Castle begins accepting qualified children at the age of 4 1/2. Two types of mental retardates, the brain damaged and the mongoloid, are represented here. Brain damaged is a rather loosely used term to cover a number of types of retardation and usually refers to damage to brain tissue which affects intellectual functioning. Many cerebral palsied children fall in this category. Encephalitis, meningitis, Rh blood factor, and German measles can contribute to this condition. Mongoloids, who are considered the most affectionate and lovable of all types of mentally retarded children, are considered because of the similarity between their features and those of the fetus in the early months of pregnancy to result from insufficient development. Here in the nursery, both types are introduced to self-reliance and social manners. In addition to participating in the rhythm band, these children in the kindergarten are taught more personal care. Some academic work is begun, self-expression is encouraged, and mental retardates seem to possess a fond affection for music, such as this lively march. This boy coloring is one of the intermediate class comprised of children in the 8 to 12 age group. Depending on the type and degree of retardation, some children display encouraging aptitude in communication between mind and muscle. This boy seems to have learned his lesson well. You haven't noticed him hit his thumb with the hammer, have you? The first real entrance into academic learning is experienced here. The time element means nothing. The long, slow process of educating these children in more complicated subjects begins where the child is capable of learning. In this instance, this child, by matching each piece of the puzzle with its corresponding place on the board, receives a picture identification. The name or descriptive word simultaneously identifies the picture. This is one of the efficient methods used to give reading readiness. Here, the teacher moves through the necessary studies at the pace the child's retardation permits. Preparatory to the workshop and homemaking department is the junior high class. Phonics, counting, measuring, and more advanced reading are taught to children of the 13 to 15 age group. The sheltered workshop for these boys beyond 15 years of age provides an outlet for any trade skill that the pupil might possess, and provides training in these skills for the more apt, who can, after a time, seek employment in certain industries. Some, such as this young man, can attain instructing ability. A well-equipped tool shop assure adequate implements for the students. Occasionally, children from vocational rehabilitation centers are placed here for evaluation. In instances like this, the type and degree of retardation has not been fully determined. Illustrative of the work which can realize some individual earnings for the boys is this operation, which turns out surveying stakes. A contract job, this project will enable these young men to gain some confidence in their ability to provide to a degree for themselves. Almost foolproof safeguards are adapted to this electric saw, since normal perception of accident hazards is limited in the majority of cases. It should be said here that confusion still exists in the minds of uninformed people as to mental retardation and mental illness. There is a vast difference between the two. Mental retardation is a condition of impaired or incomplete mental development. In direct contrast, mental illness is a disease. A person of normal mental faculties can become mentally ill. These children learning useful crafts such as this weaving are not mentally ill. Slow to learn, yes, but striving to make a place for themselves and to be accepted in considerate society. Slowly but surely, however, an awareness is being displayed. More proof of the ability of these children to learn is this greenhouse being constructed by them and entailing some difficult cement block laying. More outdoor work and the ability to handle a post hole digger combine to help both these boys and the school. The laying of this cement-floored basketball court is somewhat of an achievement, considered to require some critical skill. The job these boys have done so far in the construction of this addition to the recreational facilities is very commendable. The ability to learn to operate such machinery as this cement mixer and other tools attests to the fact that they may be employed in many areas as competent workmen. In addition to providing these boys with a routine farming chore, these cattle will be the main course at the Pine Castle annual benefit barbecue next May. State-supported as a part of the Division of Child Training School, Sunland Training Center at Gainesville was conceived and planned for as far back as 1915. Land was donated by the citizens of Alachua County. Many types of mental retardates are well provided for at this beautiful location. The center encompasses 4,000 acres of land, 200 of which embody the campus. At present, there are 54 units situated on the campus. 1,690 retardates involving 80 types populate the center. Approximately 22% are mongoloid. Seen here is the main administration building, which was constructed back in 1957. The original administration building was constructed during the years 1920 and 1921. In those same years, this old dormitory was constructed. It has now given way to new housing of important concept. These are the new units which are contributing a developing influence to the Sunland population. They are a part of the cottage and community living known as the Department of Cottage Life. Cleanliness, neatness, proper ventilation, and excellent lighting are evident in this spotless interior, which is exemplary of cottage life housing. Here, the children daily spend a great number of hours in a cottage atmosphere under the care and influence of attendants who act as substitute mothers and fathers. The role of the Department of Cottage Life is considered a developing one, since it occurs and concerns its relationship with people and programs in other departments and in the community. Parallel to the supervisory staff, the attendant personnel are considered by the department as its most important responsibility because of the parent role involved. Occupational therapy has a prominent spot at Sunland Training Center. Children are taught weaving, printing, metal tapping, and other skills. Here, R.C. Phillips, superintendent of Sunland, inspects some of the fine work turned out by children. As in other subjects of learning, the training and rehabilitation in handicrafts and occupational therapy is of necessity based on the ability of the child and the degree of retardation. Generally, they are placed in 3 groups: educable, trainable, and severely retarded. To acquaint the pupil with community living and enterprises, some classrooms employ models of the same. For instance, this affected greenhouse will give the class some botanical knowledge. Shopping in a grocery store nowadays takes some training, as normal people can attest. Here, a practical method of instruction is employed by using this simulated supermarket. Many of the classrooms have the appearance of any normal schoolroom, and quite a few of the conventional procedures are used. Allegiance to country and the imbuing of patriotism are part of the familiarization with public life given to the class. A spacious and well-equipped athletic plant is maintained. Some who are capable engage in athletic endeavor. This gymnasium has other purposes too, as can be seen here. The instructor is teaching these boys an Indian dance, which is to be part of a play presented at some future date. It can readily be noticed that some of these boys are much better physically coordinated than some of the others. Between Sunland and full placement outside, a great amount of adjustment must take place. For a gradual relinquishing of school controls and granting increasing freedom to those who will accept responsibilities outside, Sunland's new halfway houses are the answer. With 1 cottage for boys and 1 for girls, the center has provided a place for the residents to learn to live in society as normally as possible. Therefore, a great emphasis is placed upon the social graces, such as table manners, politeness in conversation, getting along with the opposite sex in a social setting, and other common courtesies. Most of the residents will have learned some vocation skills and desirable work habits before they enter halfway house. For those that do not have training assignments when they enter the house, assignments are arranged, or permanent jobs are obtained for them so that they may work for a salary as productive citizens. Residents in a halfway house will be only temporary until appropriate arrangements can be made to reside in a community. The spiritual need is not overlooked, and worship services are provided. The final note on Sunland Training Center sounds on this, the Hope Chapel, significant and meaning to the mentally retarded. On another and bright side of Florida's special school provisions is the state's fine facilities for children with normal mental faculties but possessing physical impairments. The Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, located in St. Augustine, is a prime example of the state's facilities for the specialized instruction of children who are too hard of hearing, are too physically handicapped to be educated in public schools. In this recently renovated dormitory, the 1st and 2nd year pupils, which comprise the preparatory group of the School for the Deaf, are housed. They are the 5 and 6 year olds. In this building, particular care has been given to the home away from home feeling. Attractive color schemes, up-to-date and excellent lighting facilities combine to display the immaculate care given to these rooms. The stuffed animals reflect the feeling of togetherness in this attractive room. Beautifully kept and up-to-date lavatories contribute to the health needs of the youngsters. This dining area for the preparatory children of the deaf school is one of the most attractive seen anywhere. These tables and chairs are perfectly chosen to appeal to the children and to make them comfortable. Well-planned meals are served in this bright environment. Always present with the children at mealtime is this reminder of from whom these blessings are received. It was with some bashful reluctance that these 5- and 6-year-old children proceeded down the hall. As in any type handicap, these children have different degrees of impairment, from hard of hearing to very deaf. The first impression one receives in visiting a class in session at the School for the Deaf is revealing and heartwarming. This is a class in auditory training. The aim is to provide the opportunity for every child to make maximum use of whatever hearing he may have. According to the audiologist, electronic amplification is the only really important advance and seems likely to remain so. There are 31 rooms equipped with auditory training units. 14 of these rooms have been equipped with the new Grayson Stadler units. A program of continuous replacement assures keeping equipment up to date. Some of these children have partial or residual hearing. Lip reading is taught, plays a big part in the training. Because the sounds they hear are difficult to reproduce, the children receive a few words many times until they are familiarized. A similar study must be made of the lip formations. The general attitude of these children is that of an extremely happy group who are not in the least burdened by their communicative hindrance. Approaching the completion of their education to school is this class of 15 to 17-year-olds. As in the younger class, electronic amplification is the principal aid, with added lip-reading aid from the instructor. This class of boys and girls is learning history, American history to be exact, and their responses to the questions were enthusiastically and accurately given. Quite naturally, these students have never heard their own voices. We recorded questions and answers to demonstrate the variance of pitch of the speaking voices of 2 of these attractive girls.
What did Benjamin Franklin do to help the colonies? What did George Washington do to help during the French and Indian Wars?
He went to the Ohio Valley to tell the French about, but they whipped us. They wouldn't listen to him.
These children have one more step ahead. They will graduate within the next 2 years. The Department for the Blind has a very good supply of special equipment and devices to work with. In this industrial arts building, blind boys engage in handicraft utilizing power and hand tools. Behind the gymnasium is this mute evidence of the athletic capabilities of the deaf and blind. Ex-football players will recognize this equipment. This is part of the Department for Negro Deaf and Blind. The plant and facilities are excellent, and a modern enclosed swimming pool was opened for use in 1959. This boys' dormitory of the School for Deaf is typical of the excellent housing for all pupils in the older age bracket. The level of instruction in academic subjects at the School of the Blind compares favorably with any of the best regular public schools in the state. Those children who have partial vision are supplied with magazines and textbooks with large print. Those who are totally sightless read by the famous Braille method, that of raised letters. We ask a charming little brunette of 7 to read for us.
Please read.
The robin. I see a robin in the tree. The can see the robin. Oh, my buck can eat a robin. Look, Kay, look.
This new dormitory housing the older children of the School for the Blind, which we visited during the recent Christmas season, we found a reflection of promise in keeping with the divine purpose of the holiday. The buoyant faith in humanity which these talented children possess was mirrored in the confident voices which comprise the choir of the School for the Blind. The music of the carols they sang then still echo a promise of new horizons. Time does not permit an accounting of all of Florida's special schools. It is comforting, however, to know that tremendous steps have been taken in recent years in caring for Florida's handicapped children. The State Department of Education is energizing its program for the education of exceptional children. And although the full needs are not yet being met, the outlook is sunny. Finally, it must be realized that those who have handicapped children will defeat the purpose of mankind by withdrawing into themselves and away from society. And those of us who are not parents of handicapped children must look into ourselves and unselfishly give part of our love and help to this end. That because a child learns through affection, patience, understanding, belonging, doing, and being, it is in our power to give them a hoped-for spot in our hearts and our society. Regardless of their affliction, these too are ours.